Prime Minister Han Jae-ho stood in the rebuilt council chamber on Nexus Prime, looking out at representatives from 47 different species. The old circular seating arrangement was gone, replaced by a democratic assembly where every voice could be heard. The Galactic Federation was only 6 years old, but it had already changed everything. The Great Defensive Line is complete, announced Chief Engineer Bayek Suman from the holographic podium. Behind her, images showed massive installations stretched across the galaxy's edge like a wall of metal and energy. 400 defense stations, each one a joint project between human engineering and alien artistry. They are not just fortresses. They are works of art. The defense stations were beautiful indeed. Human efficiency had been blended with Veltarex crystal growing techniques, Zethkar metal shaping abilities, and Hithara energy weaving skills. Each station was unique, a monument to cooperation between species that had once viewed each other as threats. Admiral Ko Yejin appeared on the communication screen, her image transmitted from the command ship positioned at the galaxy's edge. The Devourer main fleet is approaching our defensive perimeter. Estimated contact in 72 hours. All joint fleet elements are in position and ready. Han Jae-ho nodded. The joint fleets were humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement. Ships from every Federation species flew together under unified command. Human vessels with their quantum weapons flew alongside Mordek stone ships, Hythara energy beings, and even Veltarex living crystal constructs. Ambassador Moon Dongwoo has an update on the integration programs, Han Jae-ho announced. Moon Dongwoo rose from his seat, his bioadaptation suit allowing him to address the assembly in multiple forms simultaneously. To the aquatic Seftai delegates, he appeared as a water being. To the crystalline Veltarex, he took on their translucent form. To the energy-based Hethara, he became pure light. Integration proceeds ahead of schedule, Moon reported. 17 species have begun their own colonial expansion programs using human bioadaptation techniques. The Zethkar have successfully established 3 colonies in methane atmospheres previously considered uninhabitable. The Mordek have built underground cities on 12 worlds. Even the Hithara have learned to maintain physical form for extended periods. This was perhaps the most remarkable change. For 12,000 years, the Council had taught that each species had fixed limits, unchangeable boundaries. Humans had proven that any limitation could be overcome with enough creativity and determination. Now the entire galaxy was learning to adapt, to grow, to become more than they had ever imagined possible. Captain No Kyung-min is reporting from the Andromeda expedition. Han Jae-ho continued. The holographic display shifted to show a young woman, standing on the bridge of an exploration vessel. Behind her, the spiral arms of a neighboring galaxy glowed in the darkness of intergalactic space. First contact with Andromeda species was successful, Captain No reported. We have established diplomatic relations with the Andromeda Federation, a coalition of 38 species. They are facing their own devourer threat and are eager to share defense strategies. The irony was not lost on anyone present. Humanity, once declared too dangerous to leave their home system, now served as the galaxy's ambassadors to the wider universe. The species that had been quarantined for being too adaptable now helped others learn to adapt. Priority alert from the defensive line. Admiral Ko Yejin announced suddenly. Devourer main fleet has arrived early. Contact in 6 hours, not 72. All ships to battle stations. The assembly chamber filled with nervous energy. Representatives from species that had never fought together, prepared to defend their home galaxy against an enemy that had consumed entire civilizations. Han Jae-ho activated the emergency protocols. All Federation civilians to evacuation positions. All military personnel to assigned battle stations. May fortune favor us all. At the galaxy's edge, Admiral Ko Yejin watched as the largest fleet in galactic history prepared for battle. Human ships formed the core of the defense, their quantum weapons and adaptive shielding providing the primary firepower. But every species contributed their unique strengths. The Mordek provided massive stone ships that could ram through devourer formations without taking damage. The Hethara became living weapons, their energy forms flowing through enemy ships to disrupt mechanical systems. The Veltarex grew crystal networks that connected all Federation ships into a single tactical network. Enemy fleet size confirmed, reported Captain Ryu Jae-hyun from his position aboard the flagship. 12,000 Devourer machines ranging from scout size to planet killers. They are moving in formation toward the core worlds. All ships, this is Admiral Ko Ye-jin. Today we fight not as separate species, but as one people defending one home. Human courage, alien wisdom, and Federation unity will carry the day. The battle lasted 18 hours and covered 3,000 light-years of space. The Devourers fought like a mechanical plague, trying to overwhelm the defenders through sheer numbers. But the Federation forces fought with something the machines could not understand: hope. Human bio-adapted soldiers boarded Devourer ships in environments that would kill any normal life form. Velterex crystal ships grew new weapons in real time to counter enemy adaptations. Hythara energy beings flowed through Devourer networks, turning the machine's own systems against them. The tide turned when Chief Engineer Baek Suman activated her greatest creation, the Unity weapon. It was not a device of destruction, but of transformation. The weapon sent waves of adaptive energy through the Devourer fleet, teaching the machine something they had never experienced before: the ability to choose. One by one, Devourer machines stopped attacking. Their mechanical minds, touched by the essence of biological creativity, began to question their programming. Some chose to continue fighting and were destroyed. Others chose to learn, to grow, to become something new. The war ended not with the destruction of the Devourer fleet, but with its transformation. 3,000 former Devourer machines requested permission to join the Federation as a new species, the Awakened. They brought with them knowledge from 4 consumed galaxies and a desperate desire to help rather than harm. 5 years later, former Council Prime Velterex stood in a park in Seoul, watching children from dozens of species play together under Earth's blue sky. His ancient crystal form reflected the sunlight in rainbow patterns that made the human children laugh with delight. "I was wrong," he said to Han Jae-ho, who stood beside him enjoying the peaceful scene. "We feared your adaptability would destroy our order. We never imagined it would create something better." Han Jae-ho smiled as he watched a young human girl teaching a Velterex child how to build sandcastles. Order is not about staying the same. It is about growing together. Above them, ships bearing the Federation symbol departed for distant galaxies, carrying humanity's greatest gift, the knowledge that any species, any civilization, any dream could become something greater if they were willing to adapt, to cooperate, and to never give up hope. The outcasts had become the builders. The dangerous had become the protectors. The quarantined had become the teachers of freedom. And in the darkness between stars, new colonies grew like flowers, each one a testament to the simple truth that walls could not contain the human spirit, or the dreams of those who chose to follow it to the stars. Fleet Admiral Park Se-young stood on the bridge of the massive warship Vindication, watching as 2,000 Shadow Fleet vessels prepared to decloak simultaneously across the galaxy. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in secret over more than a century. They were faster than Council ships, stronger than Council weapons, and completely invisible until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. Today was that moment. "All ships report ready," announced Captain Ryu Jae-hyun from the helm. "Cloak disengagement in 60 seconds. Through the quantum communication network, Park Se-young could see the positions of every Shadow Fleet vessel. They hung in orbit around every major Council world, every important space station, every military installation. The aliens below had no idea that humanity's greatest fleet surrounded them completely. "Begin transmission," Park Se-young ordered. On Nexus Prime, Council Prime Velterex was discussing trade regulations when every screen in the chamber flickered and went dark. A moment later, a human face appeared. It was Diplomat Shin Wonbin, speaking calmly in perfect galactic standard. "Greetings, Council Prime. My name is Shin Wonbin, official representative of the Human Shadow Council. We need to talk." Velterex's crystal form flashed with confused light patterns. "Impossible. Humans are quarantined in their home system. How are you transmitting this signal?" "Look outside," Shin Wonbin replied. Across the galaxy, at precisely the same moment, every Shadow Fleet vessel dropped its cloak. The effect was stunning. 2,000 advanced warships simply materialized from empty space, their hulls gleaming with weapons technology the Council had never seen. On Nexus Prime, Velterex rushed to the observation deck. In orbit above the station, 12 massive human ships hung like metal mountains against the stars. Each one was larger than anything in the Council fleet. Each one bristled with weapons that could crack a planet in half. This is not possible, Velterex whispered. 130 years ago, you caged us. Shin Wanbin continued his broadcast. You declared us too dangerous for the galaxy. You were right about the dangerous part. You were wrong about the cage. General Choi Yunji led the ground operations from her command ship in orbit around the Council military headquarters on Kepler 186 while the aliens stared at the impossible fleet above them. Human soldiers were already moving into position on the surface. They had been there for days, disguised as maintenance workers, tourists, and traders. All ground teams in position, she reported to Fleet Admiral Park. Strategic locations secured. No hostile actions detected. The Council's response was exactly what humanity had expected. Panic followed by rage followed by desperate military mobilization. Council ships throughout the galaxy scrambled to respond to the sudden appearance of the Shadow Fleet. But they were hopelessly outnumbered and completely outmatched. On the bridge of the Council flagship, Supreme Order, Admiral Kolvek stared at his tactical display in disbelief. How many human ships are there? Sensors show 2,000 confirmed vessels, his aide replied. But the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. These are not the primitive ships we saw during first contact. Attack formation, all weapons charged. Admiral, the aide's voice was shaking. They have us surrounded 8-1. Our weapons cannot penetrate their shielding. And sir, they are not attacking. They are just waiting. This was the most important part of the plan. The Shadow Fleet could have destroyed every Council ship in minutes, but that was not why they had revealed themselves. They needed the Council alive. They needed their cooperation. Captain Ryu Jaehyun monitored communications from his position aboard the Vindication. Council fleet is holding position but not attacking. Ground forces are confused but following orders to stand down. I think they are more shocked than angry. Good, Fleet Admiral Park replied. Shock is what we want. Terror comes later if they refuse to listen. The later came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected movement at the galaxy's edge. The first wave of Devourer scouts had arrived early, moving faster than anyone had predicted. Admiral, Captain Ryu called out. We have incoming. Unknown vessels. 47 contacts approaching at near light speed. They will reach the outer Council worlds in 6 hours. Fleet Admiral Park felt her stomach drop. The plan had been to reveal humanity's existence, negotiate with the Council, and prepare joint defenses against the Devourer threat. But the machines had arrived before negotiations could even begin. All ships, yellow alert. Prepare for combat operations. Send a priority message to Diplomat Shin. Tell him he has 6 hours to convince the Council to work with us. On Nexus Prime, Shin Wanbin was facing 12 very angry alien leaders. Council Prime Velterex's crystal form flickered with red patterns of rage. You have violated the quarantine decree, Velterex declared. You have invaded our space with an illegal fleet. Surrender immediately or face total destruction. With what? Shin Wanbin asked calmly. Your fleet cannot match ours. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your sensors could not even detect us until we chose to reveal ourselves. Face the truth, Council Prime. We are not the primitive species you quarantined. We are something you never expected us to become. What do you want? Demanded Councillor Mordek. To save your lives, Shin Wanbin replied. He activated a holographic display showing the approaching Devourer scouts. These machines will be here in 6 hours. They consume all organic matter. They have already destroyed 4 galaxies that we know of. The only way to stop them is to work together. The Council members stared at the display in horror. The dark shapes moving between the stars looked like mechanical nightmares, all sharp angles and hungry void. How do we know this is not a human trick? Asked Councillor Hithera. Because, Shin Wanbin said, if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it already. Look around you. We have ships in orbit around every Council world. We have soldiers in position at every strategic location. We could have taken control of everything without revealing ourselves at all. The first Devourer scout reached the outer system of Kepler 442, a Council agricultural world with 2 billion inhabitants. The machine was the size of a small moon, covered in mechanical tendrils that reached out to taste the solar wind. Captain Ryu Jaehyun watched the tactical display as the scout began its approach to the planet. Admiral, the machine is beginning surface scans. Council ships are moving to intercept, but their weapons are having no effect. Launch 1 fighter squadron, Fleet Admiral Park ordered. Let us show them how it is done. 12 human fighters broke away from the Shadow Fleet, their advanced engines leaving trails of blue fire against the stars. They were piloted by volunteers who had never seen Earth, humans born in the hidden colonies who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The fighters engaged the Devourer scout with weapons that tore space itself, quantum torpedoes that ignored conventional shielding, and beam arrays that cut through metal like sunlight through mist. In 17 minutes, the machine that had threatened an entire world was nothing but floating debris. Across the galaxy, every council leader watched the battle through their communication networks. They saw their own weapons fail completely against the Devourer threat. Then they saw human technology destroy the machine with ease. Council Prime Velterex was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of 12,000 years of galactic rule. "What do you propose?" he asked Shin Wanbin. "Partnership," the human diplomat replied. "Not conquest. Not revenge for the quarantine. Partnership to face a threat that will destroy us all if we fight separately." The Revelation War ended not with humanity's victory over the Council, but with the first handshake between former enemies who had finally realized they needed each other to survive. Director Cho Min-hee stood in the hidden facility beneath the mountains of Korea, watching the holographic display that showed Earth's orbital traffic. Ships moved back and forth like busy ants, bringing the last human colonists home from 17 worlds. The Galactic Council had given humanity 1 year to abandon everything they had built beyond the Sol system. That year was almost over. "The last transport from Kepler 442 just docked," reported Captain O'Subin, her uniform still bearing the dust of distant worlds. 3,000 people. They left everything behind except what they could carry. Minnie nodded but said nothing. She had been planning for this day since the Council's verdict came down. While Earth's government wept and raged and begged for mercy, she had been working in the shadows. The Pathfinder project was her answer to humanity's cage. "How many volunteers do we have now?" she asked. 57,000, Subin replied. "People from every colony, every profession, scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, all willing to disappear forever. Forever. That was the price of freedom." The volunteers would never be able to contact Earth again. As far as the official records would show, they had died in transport accidents or chosen to live in the outer system's asteroid fields. Their families would mourn them as dead. Dr. Bae Ji-hoon looked up from his workstation, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "The whisper drives are ready. 37 ships, each one invisible to Council sensors. The quantum signatures are so small that even our own equipment can barely detect them." "And the destination data?" Min-hee asked. "All loaded," said Engineer Yoon Hiram. "We found sites in 12 different locations. Dark nebulae, rogue planets, asteroid fields between the galactic arms, places where no Council ship has ever gone because there is nothing there worth finding." Nothing worth finding to the Council, Min-hee thought, but humans had always been good at making something from nothing. Admiral Kang Sun-woo entered the command center, his face grim but determined. "The fleet is ready. Every ship has enough supplies for 2 years, plus the fabrication equipment to build more. Once we reach the hidden sites, we can start manufacturing everything else we need." "What about weapons?" Min-hee asked. Sun-woo smiled for the first time in weeks. "Remember the Council ship that crashed on Europa 5 years ago? The one they said was completely destroyed? Well, we managed to save a few pieces. Dr. Bae's team has been busy." Dr. Bae Ji-hoon grinned. "We did not just copy their technology. We improved it. Human engineering plus alien science equals something new, something better." The hidden facility buzzed with activity. Thousands of people worked day and night to prepare for humanity's secret exodus. They called it the Great Departure, though most of Earth would never know it had happened. Captain O'Subin walked over to the observation window that looked out over the underground hangar. 37 ships waited there, each one sleek and dark, designed to slip between the stars like shadows. They looked nothing like the bright, proud vessels that had carried humans to their first colonies. These ships were built for hiding, for surviving, for carrying humanity's hope into the void. "I keep thinking about my daughter," Subin said quietly. "She's only 8 years old. After tomorrow, she will grow up thinking her mother died in an accident. She will never know that I am out there, somewhere among the stars working to build a future for her." Min-hee put a hand on the younger woman's shoulder. "The sacrifice is great, but if we succeed, your daughter will inherit a galaxy where humans are free." where we do not have to beg for permission to exist, and if we fail, then we fail trying to live free rather than dying in a cage. Engineer Yoon Hyeram called out from across the room. Director, the barrier monitoring station is reporting something strange. The Council's energy barriers are fluctuating in the outer system. Very small changes, but enough to create windows. Admiral Sunwoo hurried over to look at the data. How long do the windows last? 17 minutes every 6 hours. It happens when the barrier generators realign their frequency patterns. 17 minutes, Min-hee mused. Enough time for a single ship to slip through if the pilot is very skilled and very lucky. Dr. Bae Jae-hoon looked up from his calculations. We can time it perfectly. Launch all 37 ships at once, each one aimed at a different window point. Even if the Council detects some of them, others will get through. And once we are through? Soobin asked. Then we disappear, Min-hee said. We become ghosts. We build in the dark spaces where no one looks. We grow in the silence between the stars. The final day came faster than anyone expected. In the hidden hangar, 57,000 people said goodbye to everything they had ever known. Families hugged each other, knowing it would be the last time. Children too young to understand cried as their parents tried to explain why mommy or daddy had to go away forever. Captain Oh Soobin stood at the airlock of her ship, the Silent Wing. Her crew of 200 waited behind her, all volunteers, all ready to vanish into legend. She looked back at the Earth through the hangar's main window, memorizing the blue marble that had been humanity's home for millions of years. All ships report ready, Admiral Sunwoo announced over the communication system. Volunteers, you are the bravest humans who have ever lived. You carry our species' future with you. Make us proud. Barrier window opens in 60 seconds, Engineer Yoon Hyeram called out. All ships to launch position. The 37 ships moved like dancers, each one following a precise path calculated down to the millisecond. Their whisper drives hummed so quietly that even the people inside could barely hear them. Window opening. Now, the ships launched as one, shooting out of Earth's shadow toward 37 different points where the Council's barriers flickered. Captain Oh Soobin felt the Silent Wing respond to her touch like a living thing, accelerating toward the tiny gap in humanity's cage. Behind her, Earth fell away. Ahead, the barrier loomed like a wall of golden light. The gap was so small she could barely see it, just a thin crack in the prison that held her species. The Silent Wing slipped through the gap with seconds to spare. Around her, other ships did the same, each one disappearing into the darkness between stars. Some were detected. Council ships moved to intercept them. But most made it through, vanishing into the void like drops of water absorbed by an ocean. Hours later, Director Cho Min-hee received the final transmission. It was just 3 words, broadcast on a frequency so faint it might have been cosmic background noise. Seeds are planted. She smiled and deleted all records of the Pathfinder project. As far as anyone would know, it had never existed. Just like the 57,000 volunteers who now carried humanity's dreams into the dark, the great exodus had begun. In the shadows between worlds, in the forgotten corners of space, humanity would grow again. They would build something new. Something hidden. Something the Council would never expect. Something that would change everything. Commander Lee Do-hyun stood in the center of the massive chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. The Galactic Council Hall stretched out before him like a cathedral made of crystal and light. 12 towering seats surrounded him in a perfect circle, each one holding a being from a different world, a different species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. His heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his face calm. This was it. This was humanity's last chance to join the galactic community. Everything depended on what happened in the next few minutes. Speak, human, said Council Prime Velterix. The ancient crystalline being's voice echoed through the chamber like music made of ice and stone. Light danced through his translucent body as he leaned forward in his seat. Make your final plea. Do-hyun took a deep breath. Behind him, he could feel the eyes of Ambassador Park Ji-won watching from the observation deck. She had trained him for this moment for months. All of Earth was counting on him. Honored Council, Do-hyun began, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. 50 years ago, your scouts found us among the stars. We were young, curious, reaching out to touch the void with primitive ships and big dreams. You could have destroyed us then. You could have ignored us. Instead, you chose to watch, to learn, to give us a chance. The council members shifted in their seats. Some looked bored. Others seemed interested. The Velterex's crystal face showed no emotion at all. In these 50 years, we have shared our music with you, our art, our stories. We have shown you our hearts through poetry and song. We have given you our science, our medical knowledge, our technology. We have proven that humans can learn, can grow, can contribute to something greater than ourselves. A sound came from one of the council seats. It was Councillor Zethkar, a being that looked like a walking tree covered in silver bark. He was laughing, but not in a kind way. Contribute? Zethkar's voice was like wind through dead leaves. You spread like a disease. In 50 years, you have built colonies on 17 worlds. You adapt to environments that would kill most species in hours. You change yourselves, change your bodies, change everything around you to suit your needs. We adapt because we must. Do-Yun replied. Every world teaches us something new. Every challenge makes us stronger. Is this not what all life does? Is this not what each of your species has done? Not like you, said Councillor Hithara, a creature of pure energy that flickered like a blue flame. We watched your expansion. We studied your behavior. You do not just adapt. You consume. You take everything a world has to offer and make it yours. Do-Yun felt his chest tighten. This was not going the way he had hoped. We do not take. We build, we create. Every world we touch becomes more than it was before. Yes, Velterex said slowly. That is precisely the problem. The chamber fell silent. Do-Yun could hear his own breathing, could feel sweat forming on his palms. In the observation deck above, Ambassador Park Ji-won leaned forward, her face tight with worry. You see, Velterex continued, we have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. We have brought peace, order, stability. Each species has its place, its role, its boundaries. We have systems in place, rules that work. And we want to be part of those systems, Do-Hyun said quickly. We want to follow your rules. We want to learn from your wisdom. No, said Councillor Mordek, a massive creature that looked like a mountain with eyes. You want to change our systems? In 50 years you have already begun. 3 species have requested to join your colonial efforts. 2 have adopted your democratic voting methods. 1 has started making art in the human style. Do-Hyun blinked. He had not known about this. On Earth, they only heard about humanity's own colonies. They did not know that other species were copying human methods. Is this bad? He asked. Is it wrong for species to learn from each other? To grow together? It disrupts the balance, Velterex said. For 12,000 years, the galaxy has been stable. Each species knows its place. There are no wars, no conflicts, no chaos. You have been here for 50 years and already that stability shakes. But we have not caused any wars, Do-Hyun protested. We have not attacked anyone. We have not even defended ourselves when others attacked us. Yet, said Zethkar, the key word is yet. We have studied your history, human. Your species' entire existence is one long story of conquest and war. You fight each other. You fight your environment. You fight everything that stands in your way. It is your nature. We have learned to be better, Do-Hyun said, desperation creeping into his voice. We have grown beyond our violent past. We seek peace now, cooperation, understanding. For now, Hithara flickered brighter. But what happens when you encounter something you cannot adapt to? Something you cannot overcome with cooperation? Your nature will emerge. You will fight. And when humans fight, they do not stop until they win. The chamber was quiet again. Do-Hyun felt the weight of history pressing down on him. Not just human history, but the history of every species that had ever reached for the stars. He thought of General Kim Taemin back on Earth, watching this meeting through quantum communications. He thought of the billions of humans who wanted nothing more than to walk among the stars as equals. We are not perfect, he said finally. No species is. But we can learn. We can be better. Give us that chance. Velterex rose from his seat. The other council members followed. The ancient being's crystal form caught the light of the chamber and threw rainbows across the walls. The council has made its decision, Velterex announced. Humanity represents a threat to galactic stability. You are too adaptable, too aggressive, too likely to disrupt the order we have spent millennia building. Therefore, we invoke the quarantine decree. The words hit Do-Hyun like a physical blow. Quarantine? All human colonies beyond your home system will be evacuated within 1 standard year, Velterex continued. Humanity will be confined to the Sol system. Energy barriers will be erected to ensure you cannot leave. Any attempt to break quarantine will result in the orbital sterilization of Earth. You cannot do this, Do-Yun whispered. We are not animals to be caged. You are exactly what you must be, Velteric said. And we are exactly what we must be to preserve the peace. The decision is final. The council members filed out of the chamber, leaving Do-Hyun alone in the Crystal Cathedral. Above him, Ambassador Park Ji-won was crying. Through the quantum link, he could hear General Kim Taemin cursing in 3 languages. Hours later, Do-Hyun stood on the observation deck of his ship, watching as massive energy projectors took position around the Sol system. The barriers were beautiful in their way, sheets of golden light that stretched between artificial satellites the size of moons. A prison, he thought. They had built humanity a beautiful, perfect prison. But as he watched the barriers form, something else stirred in his chest. Not despair but anger, not defeat but determination. The council thought they knew humans. They thought they understood what humanity would do when caged. They were about to learn how wrong they could be.